Hey you guys, what's up? Welcome to my new YouTube channel. Welcome to 2021. I know a lot of us are excited to get into this year, and I have a really cool video for you guys today. It's about my lens lineup heading into 2021. So what do I use in my professional videography business, in my photography, stuff like that. So we're gonna be walking through all my different lenses, the cameras that I use them with, and just all of that good stuff for you guys. That way you guys can kind of get a highlight of what a pro lens lineup looks like for this 2021. If you guys are interested in purchasing any of the links, make sure to check out my Amazon affiliate links in the description below. It helps support me a lot. It doesn't cost you guys a penny extra if you guys are looking to purchase these lenses anyways. So make sure to check those out in the description below. If you like today's content, please hit subscribe. Help me grow this channel from the ground up. I just launched it 3 days ago, so literally it's a baby brand new channel, and I'd love if you guys were to follow and support me. So let's get started talking about my full frame lineup. My full frame lineup I mostly use with the Panasonic S1R. It's a great camera. I'll probably make a review about it in a few weeks from now for this videography, photography channel that I'm launching right now. Already made reviews about it in the past for wildlife photography, but it's a great camera and I have a great lens lineup with it. What I really like to do, to be honest, with Panasonic's bodies is because in their full frame lineup, they don't have a lot of good lenses quite yet. So I've been using a lot of other lenses like Sigma lenses or Canon lenses that I just adapt and mount onto it. For that, so for all the lenses I'm going to be talking with you guys about, except for one of them, I use what is called the Sigma MC21 adapter, and it's an L mount adapter from a Canon EF. So I can mount a Canon EF lens right here and mount it then to my L mount lens on my Panasonic S1R. Does the work right there, and it works really well. Works fine for most of my situations that I'm in. With that being said, the lenses that I like to use. So the first lens is actually not here at the moment. It's the one I'm using right now on this camera. It's my favorite lens I like to use. It's called the Sigma 24 to 70 millimeter lens. It's a 2.8 f-stop on the low end, and it's a beautiful, great lens. I love this lens so much. It comes in at a little bit over $1,000. It works well because it's versatile. It goes 24 millimeters to 70 millimeters, which is a great range for most types of videos that I like to shoot. Works well for music videos, commercials, wedding work because it's so adaptable. For most situations, I really don't ever need to get wider than this, but in some situations I will need to get tighter, and for that I'll have other lenses that I can use later on. And Sigmas just have great sharpness all across the lens, and I really love that about Sigma lenses in general, and this lens definitely holds up to that standard. So definitely make sure to check out this lens if you're looking for a lens with that type of range in terms of versatility and getting nice solid image quality and a good decently shallow depth of field for most types of work that you want to be doing. So next, now that we're on the Sigma kick already, let's talk about this Sigma 18 to 35 millimeters that I use for a lot of things. It's a 1.8 minimum f-stop, but it's an APS-C mount. So for my full frame camera, it actually crops that in quite a bit, but I'm getting a 1.8 f-stop where I need it to be. So it's great if I need to get even lower light, but what I actually use this also for is adapting to my Micro Four Thirds camera with what's called a Metabone speed booster. Now when I do this, it gets an amazing minimum f-stop of 1.2 on my G9, Panasonic G9 that I use. So it's a great lens because I can use it on either camera in very low light situations, and this is really what I call for as kind of my rock in those situations when I need something in very low light settings. Now it's only an 18 to 35, and when you translate that to the G9 or the S1R, it crops in a little bit more, but not still too much. So the one hard part about it is it doesn't get very zoomed in. It gets close to like 50 millimeters. I don't know what the exact amount is if you do the math because of the speed booster or because of the crop on the full frame, but it doesn't get crazy far zoomed in. And so because of that, it's a little bit limited in most daily uses. Not to take into account also because it's not a native L mount for my Panasonic S1R, just like the 24 to 70 is. This one doesn't work as well for autofocus, and neither does it work as well for autofocus on the G9 that I use because it's adapted to it. So if autofocus is big to you, unless you have a native EF mount to this lens or something like that, it comes in a couple different formats, it might be something you want to hold off on. But with that being said, again, it's a great image quality in the lens, sharpness throughout the whole thing, and it's a beautiful aperture 1.8 on the low end. Now next, let's talk about my Canon 16 to 35. This lens is basically my landscape lens. I use it maybe occasionally for some other very specific uses in my photography or videography, but in most parts I just use it for landscape. The reason why I wound up getting this 4.0 lens as opposed to Canon also has a 16 to 35 2.8. I've seen kind of reviews between the two, and the 16-35 actually seems to have a little bit of worse image sharpness in the corners. And for me with landscape shots, it's pretty important because I want my frame to be really sharp across the whole thing. And so for me, getting down to a lower aperture in landscape typically isn't really that important in most scenarios. So I decided to go for the 4.0. First of all, much cheaper, but then second of all, getting that image sharpness in the corners is really big and really huge for what I like to do and use it for, which is landscape photography. It's a great lens, I love using it, and definitely would recommend it for landscape photographers or people who are looking to get really wide, maybe urban shots, things like that. Now the next lens I have here is just a Canon little nifty 50, using this cheap little lens just for 50mm portrait shots if I need. This lens comes in incredibly cheap at only like $125. However, you're not gonna get a ton of image quality out of it. The center of the lens is pretty sharp, but once you get to the corners, you just get so much blur and distortion. It's kind of disgusting. But if you're doing portrait shots, you wind up usually wanting that more blurred anyways, so that's why I use it for portraits still. And I just carry it around. It's nice and lightweight, nice and easy. If I'm not carrying around a 50mm with me, then I have this that I can always just pull out really quick out of my camera bag. And so I still keep it around for reasons like that. Also goes down to a 1.8 aperture, so you really can't beat that too much in terms of minimum aperture. Now next, let's talk about the Sigma 150-600. This is my beast. This is my wildlife photography lens that I use in all my wildlife videos. If you come from my other YouTube channel, this is what I use in my wildlife photography YouTube channel. I love this lens. This lens is a great lens. It has great image sharpness again on the corners because Sigma does an amazing job of that. And that's why I've stuck with Sigma ever since I've started to go with them, is because they really do a good job in their image quality. Like, I just can't replace it after going with them, honestly. And beyond that, it is a pretty heavy lens, so you gotta be very aware of that if you're going into wildlife photography, that you're gonna be lugging around a good amount of weight. But as long as you can put up with that, it's a great lens. I really love all the features of it. The manual focus ring, which is huge for me in wildlife photography, is buttery smooth and in great position where your thumb can just very easily mess with it. And so I really like this lens, and I love my experience with it so far in my wildlife photography. If you're interested in checking out more about it, definitely go check out my Sigma 150-600 review on my wildlife channel, and you can learn more about it for sure. So now that we've talked about my full frame lenses that I use most, including the Sigma 24-70mm that I'm using currently on my camera, let's talk a little bit about the Micro Four Thirds lenses. I don't have them all laid out here that I use, but I wanted to most specifically maybe hit on one or two of them. One of them that I use a lot, and this one I really use a lot for wedding work, is really where it comes in handy, is a 45-200mm Micro Four Thirds mount. I use this with my Panasonic G9, and effectively on a full frame camera, it goes then 90-400mm, equivalent on a full frame lens. So gets a ton of reach. And for wedding work, this is amazing because when I was back shooting a lot of weddings, a lot of times, you know, you have to stand in the back of the audience, maybe or way off to the sides, and you want those nice, tight close-up shots to, you know, the couples as they're looking at each other, but you couldn't quite get it if you're, you know, with a standard normal, maybe the middle of the Trinity range or something like that. And so having a lens like this was really important for me to be able to get those nice face close-up shots of them while still keeping my distance at a wedding. And so this lens is great for scenarios like that, for event videography as well. Does a great job in a lot of those things where you need that extended reach, but want something light and portable, because as you can tell, this is, you know, getting close to my wildlife lens that I use on my full frame camera, and the weight difference in these are just ridiculous. Like, this feels like my pinky weight, and this feels like, you know, the weight of my head. So all that to say, this is a great little lens, also very cheap, comes in around $400, somewhere around there. And yeah, definitely check it out if you're looking into a portable lens that has a lot of reach for a lot of the video work that you do. Now, the other one I want to mention really quick is the Panasonic 100-300mm Micro Four Thirds lens. If you need even a little bit more reach than that 45-200mm, this is a 100-300mm, which means that on a full frame equivalent, it gets 200-600mm. So comparing that again to my full frame telephoto, look at the size difference. The size difference, first of all, is just insane. But the weight, if I could show you guys, the weight is just like, this one feels 10 times heavier. So it's a great little portable lens to take around if you need even more reach, once again, and does a good, decent job for the price range. The price is about $600 on this lens, so you really can't beat that much if you're looking for a nice budget telephoto lens that gets that much amount of reach in it. Now, lastly, to add one more to you guys, with the Panasonic G9, for all my vlogging, I actually carry around So I would attach the camera here, a 25mm lens, and I just leave it pretty much permanently attached to my G9 when I'm vlogging. I kind of like a little bit of a tighter vlogging style in a lot of the things that I do, at least currently for wildlife photography, because it gives me the ability to set it down on a tripod, back up a little bit, get a nice decent depth of field while getting a close enough, shot on me. And then for when I'm, vlogging and it's in my hand, it's not ridiculously close. 25mm translates to 50mm full frame equivalent. So this lens is a great lens that I use with Micro Four Thirds all the time. Use it for portrait work, obviously, wedding work, stuff like that on my second camera that I use. So it's a great little lens if you're looking for that type of stuff. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. I hope this helped give you a look into a pro lens lineup for 2021. If you guys like today's content, make sure to hit subscribe below. Helps me out in growing the channel again from the ground up. This is a baby channel, so I'd love and appreciate all the support you guys can give me. Also, if you guys want to check out my new merch that I launched when I launched this channel and my transition from my old channel to this one as well, have new merch available on my website. Make sure to go check it out in the description below. There's a whole story and idea behind 2020 Vision, the brand. And so make sure to check out that video in the end screen at the end of the video if you guys are interested in learning more about that vision and just being inspired. It's a great video and I was happy to share it with you guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe below and I can't wait to see you guys next time.